And it is a wealthy
It's a
Wednesday.
Wednesday today. It's a Wednesday. We're talking about everything investments. We're bringing investments to you. Invest.
Hopefully, we're bringing you guys content that is off the hook, guys. Hope that you guys are liking what we're doing, you're sharing it, and comment below.
Investments.
Investment.
Oh, yeah.
Today's particular session will be focusing on the two types of investments, namely passive investment and portfolio investment. So I think Lebo will start with unfolding portfolio investment.
What I like about explanation is that you need to actually simplify it in the most simple version that you can actually get.
Of course.
So now in its simplest form, investment is actually taking your earned income or money that you have at hand, take it to a financial institution to actually manage that income of yours for a particular time. And then with passive income, I think Nell would explain it better.
With passive income, that's when we take our money, we invest it either in a business or in an asset that will provide us with passive income.
So now how did we get started? Want to tell our viewers how we got started?
Well, with regards to how we got started was through investing our time and our skill in work. So I think that's when we started working to actually gather up money and also build a credit portfolio. When we built that credit portfolio, that's when we went for passive income. But now I think it's very important that our viewers actually know the different types of the passive incomes, because some passive incomes I believe they're for short terms.
Okay.
And other passive incomes they're rather for long term. So now our goal, we always knew that we want to go through the property avenue. So now what we did was, okay, how are we going to actually get there? So we had money and then we rather invested in a short term goal, which was an e-hailing business. So this was your transport business. Because now you know with a car, it travels every day and a car can easily get worn out.
Okay.
So after 5 to 10 years, you know that you'll be servicing the car for so long and a lot of things might go wrong.
Yeah.
So hence that was our short-term goal to get us to what? To our long-term goal.
So now in terms of our long-term goal, what we actually did is that we took the money that we had from the cars, right? So now what we did is that we sold the cars and then we take the money that we have there and actually invest it in a particular property. That would be a long-term investment. So now what happens is that when you have a lot of money and you tell your parents that, hey mom, I have a lot of money, they actually tell you to go invest that money. But do you actually know what you're investing in? Do you read up on the terms and conditions of what you're actually investing in? Because now you need to know, you need to have goals for why you're actually investing, right? If you're going to be investing for something that is long term, right, rather invest in your investments which take for 10 years, right? But now if you're going to be looking for investment of short term, whereby you're able to access your money, then you'd be going for the 32 days or the 7 days, right? So now just be sure to actually read on the terms and conditions, because now you don't want to find yourself needing that money and then them only telling you that you should come back 5 years later.
Of course. I mean, it goes without saying that you should actually know where you are in life and when you want to achieve a particular goal. I mean, if you 60 years and maybe you'd like to go on a vacation, you can't go for the long-term investments that will be probably popping out your money after 20 years to 30 years. Yeah. So it would be strategic to actually, as Label said, it would be strategic to actually see what type of investment will actually suit you and look at the type of arrangements. So now another thing that I'd like to emphasize with regards to investments, this is one of the trends that I've seen with a lot of people, is that you ask the people, what is your return on investment on that particular investment? What is your cross on that particular investment? What is your interest rate? I mean, somebody will tell you that the interest rate is 10%. So then, but now when you go deep into that particular topic of, okay, when you're saying 10%, what are you saying? Are you saying 10% after 5 years, or are you saying 10% after 2 years? That's the conversations that we should be actually knowing or having with our bankers and also having with our financial advisors, so that when the money does come through, I actually did expect this type of money. Emphasizing our point that we made, that profit is made during the planning stage before you even invest.
I mean, it's interesting what you say, because now when you go to a financial institution, they actually ask you, do you actually want a low risk or a higher risk? So now remember, with a lower risk, you'll actually get the lower percentage. But with now your higher risk, you get the larger percentage. But now remember, if your risk goes higher, the likelihood of your monies actually not growing as fast as they should might actually decrease. So now it's important to know yourself. What kind of person are you? Are you someone who wants the money for sure, or are you a person that is actually wants to take a risk within the market?
Because it goes without saying, why I like to link the type of risk, the risk analysis, is that this is more of shares, but we'll talk about them later. But now, what I'd like to talk about shares is quarterly interest,
Half yearly interest.
annual interest. So now these interest schemes, how they actually operate is that you'll be receiving money depending on which one you chose. So I think the one that we're most familiar with is the annual interest rates, right?
Yeah.
Because now what you see is that someone will take a particular investment and then only discover maybe after 5 years, oh no, why am I getting so much interest? You guys promised me 10%. But now what we need to do, our responsibility is to find out, okay, if it's annual interest, they're saying 10% annually. What that means is that I'll be receiving the 10% of the money invested annually. If that particular investment said 10% quarterly, quarterly we're referring to 4 months. So you ask yourself, how many 4 months do we get within a year? We get 3, so it's 4, 8, 12. So that means after every 3 months, I'll be receiving that 10% interest rate.
This is pretty interesting, because now it also links up to your credit profiles, right? So now when we speaking about credit profiles, it's talking also about the credit that you have, right? So now your credit would stipulate that they charge you 10% annually, right? So now once you know that they charge you 10% annually, you'd know that that 10% would be charged on an annual base, not on the whole principal amount. Because now what happens, a lot of people get this wrong, right? So now what happens is that, say for example, you went on to take on a loan of 1,000, right? And then they say 10% annually, right? So now you'd simply take the 1,000 and multiply it by 10%, right? And say this is the amount of money that you're actually going to be paying back to the bank, right?
Okay. So in
Whereby,
this particular case, it'll be the $100.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would be the actual incorrect calculation, right? Because now they said 10% annually. So now in every year, you're going to be charged 10% on the outstanding balance.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. So hence we emphasize that it's important that you guys actually study and do research about whatever investment that you get into, because it would be nice that if you see a better investment, you are able to take out that money and invest it in that better investment. Because now it's not a must that your money must sit within a particular investment. I mean, if we're looking at passive investment in particular, if you've got one business that's giving you so much money and you worked out your return on investment, we highlighted that the formula for return on investment is your profit divided by your capital that you invested, and then you need to have that benchmark. Where for us, that the one that works out, it's 15%. If this particular investment in hand gives you something like 15%, and you see another investment, passive investment, that would give you 20%, it goes without saying, you don't need to become emotional about that.
But now remember, always read your terms and conditions that you're going to be signing. Because now what happens is that you see a better investment,
Yeah.
and when you go to the financial institution and they tell you that you've signed for the next 5 years, you will not receive any money. Then you're stuck with that investment for the following 5 years.
And then shares. On shares, It's quite an interesting one. We invested in shares. We invested in shares and we had calculated, as we said, we did our calculation. But I think at this stage we were still new to the game. We did our calculations and then we saw that we should be having so much interest. These were the predicted interest rates after so many years. Predicted. It's very important that we understand between reality at the end of the investment and the predictions. So we went to that particular investment to cash it out. I was so excited that I'll be rich. But when I got there, it was not the prediction. So what happened is that the shares actually went down. So it's important that you also understand that shares are high risks. But at the same time, I'm not saying that every time you're investing in shares, it's going to be bad. There are cases whereby it's going to actually work out in your favor. It's just that we need to do our thorough research.
Thank you.
Invested enough capital into that particular session, and I hope it was fruitful for everyone.
Really enjoyed having you guys. Please do come back. Remember, like, share, subscribe, and comment below.
Let's invest smartly, guys.